What's going on, guys? Here with Bo from Cryptocurrency Australia, here with Winston for the first time I have ever introduced a little dog. That was due to Adam. Adam, you pressured me into introducing him, but I'm glad that I did. Guys, welcome to the show. We're going to talk about some really cool stuff tonight. We're going to cover the markets, crypto markets. I'm going to be covering a recent cryptocurrency collectible that sold for $100,000. Insane. And then we're going to talk about the latest Bitcoin FOMO starting to rally up. We're seeing a lot of the major news outlets starting to cover Bitcoin again. So does this mean that we're about to head into an insane bull run? Could be the case. Adam, what do you got for us?
Bo and Winston, and welcome to the show. It's good to have you on, Winston. Everyone's already met Dino. This is Leela, one of my other furry friends. She's going to join us tonight. We're looking at Coinstar, which is introducing Bitcoin into a type of cash machine. Going to go over some scams as well as our coin picks, touch on a little bit of TA analysis and sauna talk. Lots to get into. Let's do it.
So thanks for tuning in, guys. Stick around. Hope you enjoy the show. So, mate, starting off looking at the markets, I don't know if it's us causing these pumps. I think it is. I think these shows are having such a positive reaction with the audience that it's literally the driving factor behind the Bitcoin pump every single week. Because every time we do it, a few days later, boom, things pumps. We've had an awesome rally. We had Bitcoin nearly hit 9K during the week. It was unbelievable. I was in Brisbane and I've got some Bitcoin now on my 10x card. I waited 2 years to implement this strategy that I use now. I've got some Bitcoin on my 10x card and I have a certain baseline level of Australian dollars on it. Whenever the price of Bitcoin rallies over this baseline that I have, I use that money to draw down to take profits and buy things with it. It might be new clothes, might be a combination, might be food, whatever. And these recent pumps have been allowing me to do that, which has been awesome. Now, the market we've seen, I think, it's been positive in terms of the way it's been growing. And what I mean by that is we're seeing strong fundamentals in terms of trading volume. We're not seeing these rallies get out of control. A lot of the dominance is staying with Bitcoin, which I want to see. And then the pullbacks are only happening between maybe 3 to 4% at the most. And then we're seeing recoveries a few days later. So I think at a fundamental level, this is showing that the market is in recovery. If this is the recovery we've been waiting for a long time, and ever since the start of the year, we're seeing constant moves, which I think is extremely positive. What's your take on what's been happening in the markets?
Well, most certainly since we started the show, we have created a bull market. So we will take donations in crypto. We'll leave our wallets below. Small commissions are always welcome, but most certainly it is an exciting time to be in crypto. It's been a long bear market. And you raise a good point about the recovery. So the analogy I've given on my channel a couple of times is like if you're in an aircraft and you pull back on the stick too much, you get what's called a vertical stall, where the markets or the aircraft goes up too vertical and then it comes crashing down to the earth. And I think sometimes when the markets climb too high, of course you get a stimulation through FOMO, and then you get probably more experienced traders going, no, it's too good to be true. So they start cashing out and it creates this snowball effect. But once we see these big jumps and then a bit of resistance and then a big jump and then resistance and support, it's this beautiful climb where we can see over the last 7 days going down the list, Bitcoin in 7 days, 8.7%, Ethereum 4.82%, XRP, which is not one of our favorite coins, but they're at 9%. But look at EOS. EOS was in one of my top 10 a while ago, and that's come up 26% in the last 7 days alone. And Litecoin is this little silent battler. I've been doing a lot of reading and listening about Litecoin. And as you know, Bo, I mine Litecoin. And as a miner, I thoroughly enjoy mining this coin because it's a strong coin. It's always been in the top 10, but it's a cheap coin to mine. And I think because of that, relative also to the supply, it hasn't got a huge supply like some of the other coins. I think it's just a good time to be in crypto.
How have you found the hash rate on the Litecoin network during the past couple of months, Adam? Do you think the hash rate on Litecoin is correlated to the market cap? And how do you think that's going to play into the upcoming halvening?
Mate, great question. So comparative to Bitcoin, it just seems to be working so much easier. So, and this isn't anything against Bitcoin, working on the SHA-256 algorithm, Bitcoin is working a lot harder. You've got to, pump out far more hash to get the equivalent outcome. But that was part of the fundamentals with Litecoin, that it could do the same on less rate and less power. And consequently, I actually run 4 Litecoin miners. That gives me more coins than my equivalent 4 S9 miners. Now, the S9s are the Bitcoin miners that are they're a bit too power hungry, and they're also getting a bit outdated because there's this constant arms race with mining. As soon as you introduce a miner, a new one comes in. But with my Litecoin miners, and Litecoin operates on the script algorithm, whereas Bitcoin's on the SHA-256, I think it is a grossly underestimated coin. When it first came out, when it was part of the top 5, it's one of the big boys. So you had Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, and then you had the sort of fork with Bitcoin Cash. And over time, when all these other altcoins have come in, Litecoin has sort of slipped down into the background and been quite quiet, if you will. Then Charlie Lee sort of got out of it and said, no, I'm not going to have anything to do with Litecoin anymore because I don't want to appear like to be manipulating it or playing with it in the background. And on one hand, I really respect him for getting out of it. But on the other hand, I think it was actually quite damaging to the coin because, mark my words, in the future, Litecoin will be right up there. As a miner, it is just something we love.
Yeah, very interesting. You've always wondered how that kind of plays out, especially leading up to the Litecoin halvening. I personally think that Litecoin price-wise has a lot of room to move in the positive direction, given the halvening coming. And then that's going to flip into the Bitcoin halvening. So I think the fundamentals for the next 12 months are the strongest I've ever seen.
Yeah, so you raise a good point about the halvening. So Litecoin halvening is coming up shortly to the 25 coins, from 25 to 12.5. Whereas we're actually now on the countdown for the Bitcoin halvening. So the Bitcoin halvening, 22nd of May next year, 2020. And then during that Bitcoin halvening, we're going to go from a block reward of 12.5 down to 6.25. Now, this is big. I just want to clear up with everyone, Bo. Many people talk about, I hear it sometimes they're saying, the supply of Bitcoin is going to be halved. Well, it's not the supply that's going to be halved. It's the reward for mining that's going to be halved. So currently, when every 10 minutes, the block pumps out 12.5 coins. And on the 22nd of May next year, that's going to cut down to 6.25 coins. What does this mean? It means that miners will effectively be doing the same amount of work, taking away all difficulty and competition with the mining farms, but for half the reward. Now, when there's half the reward, effectively that means the supply goes down, whereas the demand remains constant or arguably goes up, which means the price is going to pump even further. Now, we can see in market cycles, Bo, that before a halvening in Bitcoin or Litecoin, the price typically goes up because people become cognizant of this. Now, we ask what triggers what. Is it everyone's getting in there before the halvening, which will trigger the price going up, or the halvening actually happens, which pushes the price up? At the end of the day, chicken and egg, who cares? When Satoshi Nakamoto made this white paper, he is a genius. He foresaw how he could make more value in this coin through the scarcity of course, with a fixed supply, but then the halvening of the mining. But I want to learn more about these crypto collectibles. Not only are we getting a rarer and less supply of cryptos being mined, but I've heard about this crypto collectible space.
Yeah, look, Adam, absolutely fascinating what is going on in crypto collectibles at the moment. We've just had a game by Formula One, the official Formula One, launch recently with their own crypto collectible. So here I'm looking at an article from CoinDesk published on the 27th of May, and it says here, F1 Delta Time, a blockchain-based racing game, has launched a new line of crypto collectibles, including cars, drivers, and components. The collectibles are based on the ERC-721 non-fungible token standard, which allows different attributes for each token. Now, those of you who may not know, ERC refers to a contract written on the Ethereum public blockchain. So the article goes on. However, fungible tokens based on the ERC20 token standard will function as a currency in the game and will be equally necessary as they will be used in transactions such as paying entry fees and purchasing certain items. Right, the creators. Now, incredibly, it's only just been a couple of days since this game launched. And believe it or not, Adam, we've just had one of these collectibles, one of these cars in this game, sell for $100,000 US. Now let that sink in for a second. This is a digital crypto collectible on the Ethereum blockchain, $100,000. Now, people who have not been around for a while may not know that there were crypto kitties in early 2018 actually sold for over $100,000. So precedence has been set, but the fact that there are still such large numbers happening in crypto collectibles is a sign of the interest in this emerging industry. So this article goes on and says, a pseudonymous blockchain bidder named 09E282 has apparently paid over $113,000 worth of the cryptocurrency wrapped Ether for a token tied to a virtual Formula One race car. According to data from Etherscan, the winning bid capped a 4-day auction that ended May 27th at 6:49 a.m. UTC, in which around 15 bidders submitted 40 competing bids for the crypto collectible. Now, over here on OpenSea, and now for those of you who don't know, OpenSea is a decentralized marketplace for trading crypto collectibles. I've done a tutorial on this in the past showing you how to buy and sell on OpenSea. If you're interested, there will be a link above. But the great thing about OpenSea is it shows the full records of bids placed on these different items. Again, because it is a decentralized marketplace that is tapped into the Ethereum public blockchain. And it actually shows here the winning bid going for 415.9 wrapped Ether. Now, for those of you who don't know what wrapped Ether is, it's called WETH. Essentially what they do is, because Ether was created before the ERC20 token standard, and the ERC20 token standard has become the mainstay for most exchanges and most wallets. So what they do is they take Ether, they put it into a contract that essentially replicates that Ether as an ERC20 token. It's still worth the same amount in terms of dollar value, and then that WETH is then used to trade for these items. So it's Ether, but then they put it into an ERC20 contract to make that Ether the ERC20 standard. Now, Adam, what I want to bring to people's attention is the fact that I've been covering this for quite a while. So here we are, we're looking at an article at the moment, why blockchain games are key to mass adoption. I wrote this back in November the 20th, 2018, and the very first paragraph here, blockchain games are going to be huge. I'm talking really huge. By leveraging decentralized networks such as Ethereum or EOS, games can actually monetize in games and currency. This should not be underestimated as to its long-term potential. Think about it. Online multiplayer games can use a cryptocurrency instead of an in-game coin. Games that have rare collectibles can use Ethereum's non-fungible tokens, so players can actually sell items they've earned for real money. Now, not only that, I wrote a guide to Ethereum games in the ERC721 token standard back in June 2018, where I explained a new use case for Ethereum being the ERC721 token. And I genuinely have thought, as a previous gamer myself, that this industry is poised for a complete shuffling, a complete disruption, because these ERC721 tokens give an immutable digital right to a certain item. Now, value is often in the eye of the beholder. When you have a community, an ecosystem in a game, values can go through the roof. And that is exactly what explains why this Formula One car went for so long. Now, just before I get your input into this, Adam, I just want to give my course a quick plug. The Ultimate Guide for Cryptocurrency Trends in 2019. The reason I'm plugging this is because I do a whole section on blockchain gaming and virtual assets. I cover statistics and growth of gaming, virtual currencies and games, cryptocurrency collectible tokens, and then my personal gaming and VR outlook for 2019. I published this a few months ago. A lot of what I said in this is coming to fruition, which is amazing. For people watching this that want to get a discount, 75% off, there'll be a link down in the description. You have to click on this link to get the discount for this course.
Well, the game, I'm really glad you raised this article. And first of all, check out Bo's course, because had you invested in Bo's course some time ago, there's a really good chance that you could have made some serious coin from this. That aside, Bo, within the gaming industry, you can see, so we've got these things called skins. Now, I'm not a gamer, but I know many people who are, and I know how much the industry is making unforeseeable amounts of money. Huge, huge returns. Now, skins is basically, you might buy let's say I'm playing a shooter game, and I collect all these things, but I want my armor to be pink. And you buy this skin to make your armor pink or blue or a special cam. And you can do the same for your weapon. You get your weapon and you want your weapon to look a certain way. Now, with skins, when they first came out, people said, well, that's not going to work. Who on earth is going to pay money to buy these digital so-called assets? And of course, they went nuts. They made so much money. Now, what we add to this with the blockchain and collectible space is not only can you buy this digital add-on or upgrade, but you can buy it so it's scarce. That is, only you get it. So unlike the example I just gave there where I buy a pink bit of body armor or a fancy colored weapon, as I understand it, Bo, is that with these collectibles, is that only I can buy that. So just like you were explaining with that Formula One car, and as you did with a previous article or a previous video about horses, digital horses, it's a double spend rule. You can't copy paste to have 10 of those Formula One cars or horses. So I see it as an evolution from the skins. Yes, you can buy something unique, but to be sure that no one else has that unique thing that you've got, the blockchain enables us to have only you get this Formula One or only you get this skin. And I think as you described with that Formula One car, that's now going to be used in virtual racing. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, Adam, I'm glad you brought up the horses. I think that's a good to tie into this answer and how this is going to work. And just to give you guys some info, this project Zed Run, based out of Australia, I'm actually the community manager for it. It is a crypto collectibles game that uses virtual horses as a crypto collectibles. Now, these crypto collectibles don't just have intrinsic value. Now, this applies for the car racing game and many other of these crypto collectible games. They have special attributes. And these crypto collectibles are used as an item in a game that's either been developed by these companies or that's in development, such as with Zed. And the way these games work is the rarer the item, the better the attributes are for you to maybe have an edge in a race or to have a better chance of breeding another rare horse, which in itself has better attributes that give you a statistical advantage in a race. And that was a really cool thing about Zed, was these horses that are going to be used in racing, auctions and breeding. The rarer the horse, the better the statistical opportunity you have at winning a race. And the same goes for this car racing game, Adam. And the cool thing about these crypto collectibles is that they're based on public and private key cryptography, the same as cryptocurrencies. So when you hold this item in a wallet where you control the private key, no one can take it off you. Every transaction, every item is written to the blockchain, so they cannot be replicated, they cannot be forged, and everyone can see the public list of transactions that's occurring within the contract that was designed for this game. So you have that transparency factor as well. And it's amazing in the Zed community. These guys are watching all the transactions coming out of the Zed blockchain, keeping an eye on which horses are being created, who they're going to, at what time they're being created, and it's creating like the way I think of it in my mind is we've had these traditional huge role-playing and multiplayer games. A few examples I use are like Second Life and World of Warcraft. It's merely adding a huge value package on top of existing games or existing genres that people like. So I think there is incredible opportunity in crypto collectibles. I think there is serious dough to be made by people that get in early on certain platforms that end up becoming successful. And I think more and more games, here's my prediction, nearly every game in, say, 5 years will use crypto collectibles or cryptocurrencies within the game in some way. That's my prediction.
Can those horses live forever, so to speak?
Yes. And that's an interesting point. Actually, the community and some other people have brought up, should they live forever? Should they have the exact same properties as real horses? And that's where I think there needs to be trade-offs between gaming assets and real world assets. However, in saying that, Adam, I think with Ethereum contracts, there is the potential, if a development studio wanted to go down that route, to actually have an expiry date on certain collectibles. I think they could technically do that.
But of course, our Formula One cars can't breed, I'm guessing.
I doubt it. I haven't looked into the game, but I doubt that.
I love Formula One, but you can see the advantage in a digital space, how if I could get a digital asset that can breed, I mean, think of, besides winning a race like a car, if I can actually have it breed, I think that's pretty exciting. Bo, have you heard about what's happening in the Coinstar space?
Look, only a little bit, Adam. I'm really interested in hearing about this one. Why don't you give us the lowdown on what's going on here?
Okay, so for those who aren't familiar with Coinstar, it's the maker of kiosks that turn loose change into cash and give gift cards. So basically, imagine you go into a bank. I'll keep it into our Australian audience for now, because these are mainly American things. So you go into a bank and you pour all your loose coins into one of those big machines, and then the machine pumps out a receipt, and you take that receipt to the counter, and they turn all your loose coins into cash, or you deposit into your bank. Well, Coinstar are these kiosks. They kind of look like ATMs. And why they're quite exciting is because the Seattle-based companies that said Bitcoin is still available for purchase at select Coinstar kiosks in Safeway and Albertson stores in California, Texas, and Washington. And as part of the ownership, Coinstar has invested in an undisclosed sum of CoinMe. What does it all mean? Well, basically, Coinstar's got about 20,000 kiosks, and a lot of them are now going to be able to pump out Bitcoin private keys instead of cash. So think about it. You've got your ashtray full of coins or a jar full of coins. You go into your local supermarket, you pour all these coins into this big machine, and this machine then gives you the option, hey, do you want US dollars or do you want Bitcoin? Now, think of all the people who have been using these machines for years and they haven't really heard about Bitcoin, or they're like, well, how do I get Bitcoin? This is now simply a case of, on the digital screen, it'll give you two options. Actually, probably give you three options. Do you want a gift card for the store that you're in? Do you want cash, as in US dollars, or do you want Bitcoin? And I foresee, Bo, that this is going to be a huge on-ramp for thousands upon thousands, possibly millions of people within the States, to simply turn that loose cash, those loose coins, into Bitcoin. So there's a limit at the moment of $2,500 for each exchange, but of course there's nothing stopping you doing it 2 or 3, 4, 5 times in a row and pumping out that Bitcoin. This is big news. It's big news because it's an on-ramp for Bitcoin. It's many people are like, well, how do I buy Bitcoin? And in fact, if you look at Google Analytics, many of the Google searches is, how do I buy Bitcoin, or where do I get Bitcoin? And this is a fantastic place to basically take your coins or even notes and just pump it straight into what now is doubling up as a Bitcoin ATM.
I think it's extremely exciting, and I think where these kind of systems are going to have huge demand in the near future is because there are large cash economies. I think people underestimate how many businesses or markets operate on cash. It still happens, and for people to be able to run a cash job and then at the same time see Bitcoin in the news, hitting 9 grand, 10 grand, 11 grand, and hopefully in the future hitting all-time highs, having an easy on-ramp. And I think you touched on an interesting point there, Adam, just about those on-ramps, and when you have something extremely easy for people that they understand, you've got people searching on Google. If people can see something like this down the road and it's easy, a good example is now in our hometown, we have all these machines now where you can deposit recyclables like milk bottles and Coke bottles, and you get cash back. You can cash back to your PayPal account or put it on like your Coles card. Like, it's so simple. These guys have just.
Hey man, think about what you just said. You can now just do. This is the future. You've just created it. Why not do that to Bitcoin? Why not when I recycle my coins? Why bother with a third party like PayPal when I can simply have it added to my wallet? Think about it. I could just put my QR code up to the machine, and bang, there you go. And the next important thing to consider with these machines is people, when they see a Bitcoin ATM. They're like, well, what's that? What's a Bitcoin ATM? And yeah, if they've never used it, especially if they're a bit older, nothing against our older audience. I know some of you are incredibly innovative and entrepreneurial, but generally speaking, if I think about some of the old people I know in my life, they still go to the post office to pay their bills because they don't want to do it online because they won't grasp that concept. That same demographic of people have been using these Coinstar machines or similar for years. They go down to the supermarket, they've got some spare coins and they chuck it in. So it's not about using a different machine or a different system, but simply pressing a different button. I've been worried about some of the scams out there. So some people have seen these ATM machines and they're like, or Bitcoin ATMs, like, oh, that's a scam. And this kind of links to some of the scams that are actually out there. I don't know why I'm flickering at the moment. Sorry about that, Bo. But the comments, I want to just quickly touch a big important. Well, I started my channel firstly on mining, and then it sort of pushed to anti-scams because there were so many scams out there. And I want to touch on two scams that some of our viewers have been probably seen through Facebook and even through the comments. So be careful in the comments. There's this comment that's going out on all the YouTube channels at the moment. Someone makes up a fake account and they make up a fake profile, and they'll make two profiles, and they'll put a comment at the end of our video saying, hey, you should check out something like Walter Trading. And then another fake profile will respond to that saying, oh yeah, I used Walter Trading and that's really good. And so you start to read these comments as an unsuspecting viewer, and the YouTuber hasn't recommended this thing, but two fake accounts in the comments have made this avenue into getting into the people's minds of like, oh, we should trade this way. So, Bo, you've had huge success with YouTube and you've seen this before. Can you tell me what happened and what you've seen before with people making these fake accounts and then steering our viewers into these scams?
Yeah, so what people will do, and I'm glad you raised this, Adam, actually. It is an important issue. What people will do is they'll comment on a video that's got a fair bit of views because they know that maybe 20% of people watching the video will look in the comments to get a general sentiment as a positive reinforcement as to whether people in the comments are thinking the same way they are about the content in the video. So what they'll do is they'll post in the comments for that reason to try and get click-through. And in the comments they'll say, oh, good video, Cryptocurrency Australia. And it's important to note that many of these comments are run by bots, they're scripts. There's probably unlikely people are manually doing this. But they'll say, this person helped me make Bitcoin, I earned 10,000% or whatever. And then they'll put a number or a WhatsApp or a Telegram username there and say, follow this guy to learn more. Generally, YouTube's algorithm is incredibly smart at picking up scams and removing them. And in fact, it does it to genuine comments sometimes. And I go and look at the ones that have been blocked, and I see all these genuine comments, and I go, oh no, people probably think I'm doing that. I'm not. It's the algorithm. It's just I very rarely go and check that. But anyway, by the way, yeah. So what I do is I will ban that person from my channel. Or another thing you can do, you can report them to YouTube, or you can hide that user from your channel, and none of their comments will ever be seen again. It's a lot of power for us, and you have to exercise it properly. I only ever do it to these scammers. But it is a scam. It's important to note for people just to be careful. If you see people talking crap like that, there's like a 99% chance it's total garbage. So just don't buy into it.
Yeah, it really bothers me because it's not only stealing from people because it's a white collar type of crime, but it's a scam as well. But it brings back disrepute to the entire industry. So when people get ripped off in crypto, they're like, oh, that's all a scam. And it's not that crypto's a scam, it's that they got scammed in the crypto space. Just the same as if someone scammed you out of fiat currency. It doesn't mean that fiat currency is hang on, that's probably a bad example because fiat is a scam, but it's a scam that we've been using for years. But ultimately, it does basically taint or scar the entire industry. And I wanted to raise, as talking to a lovely lady who cut my hair the other day, and she said, oh, Adam, I saw Bitcoin Australia. This is where I buy my Bitcoin from. And I believe that's what she called it. But it was basically a Bitcoin site that said, hey, look at all these famous people who are buying Bitcoin through our site. Give us your money and we will make money for you. And it was really good to hear this hairdresser say, but it looks so easy, Adam. I mean, it wasn't good to hear that she was about to get into a scam, but it was good to hear that she was comfortable to speak to me about it and saying, should I do this? And I really just had to emphasize, not your keys, not your coin. Don't go through these third parties investment funds that they call themselves, or they try and make out that there's some type of magical investment fund where they will make you more money. You need to tell everyone's subscribers that when you are buying your crypto, you go through an exchange, get it off the exchange, and just put it in your wallet. Or, as we can see with the Coinstar article, you can now put coins into these type of machines and keep those private keys to yourself. Stay away from all these scams that are now bubbling to the surface again, which leads to this FOMO mania. But we can see now people are going to jump on the FOMO bandwagon. What's the danger with that?
Well, look, Adam, I just wanted to bring to people's attention what's starting to happen in the mainstream media. But before that, just a really quick comment. I think what you said makes a lot of sense. And to be honest, I've somewhat changed my tune over the years in terms of understanding people's technical abilities to buy and transfer Bitcoin. It is technically challenging, and there are a place for funds, and the reason why is because funds are going to be what ends up offering an easy solution for people to get Bitcoin in things like self-managed super funds and pension funds, 401ks, without having to worry about custodianship. But it is very, like you said, it's very important to watch out for scams. Always watch out for marketing. Marketing's a big one. If it seems like they're shilling it too much, do your due diligence. But the second one is ETFs. ETFs are going to be similar fund type things that allow you to get exposure to Bitcoin, but the risk you run is you don't own it, you don't have custody of it. That is the risk. But the truth is, it is going to provide a massive on-ramp for money to enter the space when they do come. But moving on to the FOMO side, we're starting to see it. I've got a couple of articles here to show the audience. I've got one from Al Jazeera. First one here, Bitcoin jumps towards $9,000. First couple of paragraphs, Bitcoin jumped as much as 10% on Monday to almost breach $9,000 as it extended the best one-month rally since before the token's historic surge in 2017. Well, the coin has had many surges. 2017, might be historic in terms of an all-time high, but it's had many pumps. The second one we have here is from the Sydney Morning Herald. Bitcoin continues surge, is up 70% this month. Bitcoin jumped as much as 10% since Friday to almost breach $9,000 as it extended the best one-month rally since before the token's historic surge in 2017. Oh, gee, isn't that similar? Both of these major media sites are basically saying the exact same thing. What's he saying? The FOMO cycle is about to kick off. It's getting close. What did we see last time? We saw every single mainstream media, and I have total distrust for the mainstream media, I should say. Total distrust from a decade of watching YouTube. And I just generally just don't like the mainstream media. But what we're starting to see is them covering Bitcoin. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. But what this does is tends to drive FOMO in people that don't have a really clear understanding of Bitcoin, that don't really understand the market, that haven't been around for a long time to see this cycle happen. This is the second time I've seen this cycle now coming. So I guess I just want to say to people, just tread with caution, and you're better off following, I think, more targeted news outlets that are actually specific to crypto that have been around for some time, and even some of those are bad. But just get behind people you can trust, get behind people that have your best interests at heart, and watch for that FOMO. But before I finish, I have one last little thing here from Trace Mayer. You know how big of a fan I am from Trace Mayer. If you guys aren't following this guy, man, he is like new. He's up there. He is to me what Andreas Antonopoulos is to you.
Oh, I was about to say that. He sounds like God.
Trace, I've listened to nearly all of his podcasts. He was talking about gold back in 2007. He started talking about Bitcoin, I believe, in 2011. This guy really knows his stuff. He's an Austrian economist. He has I believe, a doctorate in jurisprudence. He's a lawyer. Very, very, very smart man. And has just recently tweeted this, Goldbug should understand stock to flow. Now, you were talking about Bitcoin halvenings and Litecoin halvenings. That ties into stock to flow ratios, which I want to cover in the future and do a tutorial on teaching people about stock to flow, because it is a very, very important thing to understand where the price of Bitcoin can go in the future. But he says, look here, Goldbug should understand stock to flow, and he tags Safety Animus. He wrote the Bitcoin Standard. Go and read that, guys. And Julian Hosp, former CVO of 10x. Always enough Bitcoin, just price it. Crypto winter, now spring. Halving in less than 1 year, and impossible price in early because of transaction fees being non-elastic. Next bull market will blow your hair back. 100 to 250k per Bitcoin. I just want to kind of give my opinion to chime in on this. I personally think, my own personal opinion, my belief, is that Bitcoin hitting figures of 100k plus is inevitable, and it wouldn't surprise me if this bull market, however long it takes or how we get there, it wouldn't surprise me if we hit 6 figures per Bitcoin. So hopefully, good times ahead.
So I agree entirely. I wrote in a comment to I don't know, I'm leaving so many comments. Let me go back a step. I agree with you entirely when it comes to not believing the mainstream media. 4 quick examples. Trump's going to lose, Trump wins. England's not going to leave the euro, Brexit occurs. Labor's going to win, Liberal wins. Bitcoin's a scam, Bitcoin's going up. I mean, it's so easy. If a CNN says it, just go the opposite. And prove me wrong. They speak so loudly with their lies that I can't even hear what they're saying anymore, because it's just so blindingly obvious. And the proof is in the market with the amount of downsizing through CNN. And that's only one I'm picking on, CNN. But the reality is they are slashing jobs left, right and center because people are waking up and we've had enough of their lies. And this extends over to the freedom of expression in YouTube. And as you mentioned, it sounds like you are like me. You live on YouTube. I don't get my news from mainstream. In fact, I've got 2 big screen TVs in my house and I never turn them on. I never even use them anymore. They're just basically like 2 big black portraits, if you will, in my house that do nothing, because, maybe Netflix, but even then I don't bother. I just work with YouTube. And once YouTube starts censoring a bit more, there'll be a new platform that rises, and you can already see other platforms rising. But the extension to this truth in the markets is the freedom of speech that Bitcoin enables. If I can't spend my money where I want to, and I recently released a video about, MasterCard, PayPal, Visa, banks, and even Uber to an extent, choosing who can spend their money where they want to. Think about it. Even Uber banned people using their platform if they didn't like their political opinion. And this is what people will catch on to with Bitcoin, that it's not just a stock. It's not just a form of money. It's actually a freedom of speech where no longer can private, non-elected, centralized entities tell you where you can and can't spend your money. No longer are there exchange rates between countries. No longer do I need to worry about only having $10,000 when I go through an international airport. I can just have a wallet address and do whatever the hell I want, whenever I want, wherever I want. And this is a true freedom of speech. Now, before people go, well, that enables the laundering of money and the movement of criminal funds. Well, try and tell me that fiat currency has stopped drug trafficking. Try and tell me that fiat currency has stopped any type of crime. Try and tell me that fiat currency is more traceable than cryptocurrency. Every single argument that the mainstream puts against crypto is in fact completely inverted. And I am worried about the FOMO to an extent that the markets will go too fast, too vertical too quickly. But ultimately, I agree. I think 6 figures is without a doubt inevitable. And once we start getting 2/3 of the remaining population of the unbanked world's population into the crypto space, mate, 7 figures, and I'm putting this out there in my life, in my opinion, we will see 8-figure Bitcoins before we die. Now, remember, there will be a turning point, and they talk a lot about the $250,000 mark. Now, Bo, I've just actually sent you a link. Are you able to bring that up at your end? The turning point for crypto will be, of course, when we no longer compare Bitcoin to the dollar value. And as Andreas, the godfather in my mind, says, you'll know when Bitcoin is completely adopted when you ask a young person, how much is a Bitcoin worth? And they turn around and say, well, a Bitcoin is worth a Bitcoin. What do you mean? It's like saying to a young person now, what's a dollar worth? And they're like, a dollar is a dollar. And in the future, when we say a Bitcoin is a Bitcoin, then you've got the mass adoption. And combined with the fact that you'll no longer be liquidating to or converting to buy, from Bitcoin to pay a bill or buy this pen, you will just simply use Bitcoin to pay for everything. So moving just quickly on to technical analysis. Here's a bit of sauna talk for us crypto goers. So as you know, I have a bit of sauna talk, and just last night in the sauna, I met someone who was so excited about technical analysis, and she said, I know someone, I think his name was Crypto Picasso. It's a pretty cool name. But she said, no, his technical analysis, and Crypto Picasso, if you're listening and you're good at TA, good on you, fantastic. But she was so adamant that Crypto Picasso was always 100% perfect at TA that he never lost. And it got me thinking about technical analysis. We need to emphasize that not just in the crypto space, but in any market, market analysis and technical analysis can only give us so much. If technical analysis, and again, this is absolutely no disrespect to those who are very good at TA, and it certainly does play a role in the markets. But if TA was always 100% right, which it doesn't typically claim to be, but some of the less experienced people do say, well, we've got this triangle and this line, so we've had 2 red candles and 3 green candles, so the next one has to be an X candle. The reality is, if it was a pure mathematical equation, everyone would apply that model to their trading and everyone would be rich, which would actually, in fact, in turn, collapse the markets, because for someone to win, someone's kind of losing, and for someone to lose, someone kind of wins in a broad sense. But looking at this, so this has been getting a lot of talk in the crypto space lately. People are talking a lot about this inevitable flow of how Bitcoin's going up. Now, the person who made this chart is very good and has a lot of experience, and I have a lot of respect for him. But I'm actually calling it, if you note these blue tracking lines, how you've got a nice little parallel run and it's almost leveling out. I would actually argue that this blue corridor of the tracking that we're looking at now, I'm actually calling it that it's going to go more vertical. It's not going to plateau, in my opinion. It's not going to plateau as you can see here. It's actually going to go more vertical. But this just goes back to what I'm saying. So this chart was made by someone called Magic Poop Cannon. It's an incredible name, and I don't know how they come up with these names, but Magic Poop Cannon has been doing very well with his TA. But I'm sure if I could meet the guy, and I'd love to have him on the channel, he would probably acknowledge as well that TA can only tell us so much. And with so many human factors involved in markets, any market, as well as other external factors, that could be government, supply, demand, laws, war, all of these things affect markets, and unforeseeable things can happen which can affect these tracks. Bo, what are your thoughts on TA?
Look, in all honesty, Adam, I'm not a huge fan of TA. I think a lot of people have got themselves into the limelight on these TA skills that have flogged them. And I'll use an example. I won't say this individual's name, but this individual is now very famous in the Bitcoin space, and for months was spewing rhetoric that Bitcoin was going to $1,000. Now, not only did that not happen, Bitcoin has done the opposite. So anyone listening to this so-called advice has gotten wrecked. Absolutely wrecked. Now, does that mean that TA doesn't have a place? No. TA for some people works. Hey, if you've got 12 to 16 hours a day to sit there in front of a computer and study charts and, study them to the point where your eyes start having strokes, go for it. But how about instead you understand what the asset does, you understand the fundamentals, and you buy and hold? How easy is that, right? So TA is also based on probabilities. So when these guys do these triangles, when they do these different things, and they say, oh, could do this, could do that, it's all probabilities. This may happen, this may happen, there is a percentage this may happen, there is a percentage this may happen. Very, very rarely do people always get it right. They might get it right to some degree. I would argue that people that have a solid fundamental understanding of Bitcoin, that have just bought when I say the charts, when I say very simple things like moving averages, and I particularly like moving averages, and I also like things like the Mayer multiple. I like 20, 50, and 200 day, but I use them to supplement my own fundamental understanding. I do not use them as an indicator. I use them as a supplement to what I'm looking at the time. So I would argue that people that have a fundamental understanding of Bitcoin, that have been dollar cost averaging and accumulating over time, and instead expending their precious time and energy on this earth, understanding what Bitcoin does more than studying charts, have probably made a lot more money than people that are sitting there doing TA all day. I don't know. I have a little bit of a bug to pick with TA because I think it's marketed to people that don't quite understand maybe foundations of money, and is used as leverage to extract value. I don't know. Adam, what do you think?
Well, I think you raise a good point about opportunity cost. So if I spend 12 hours a day looking at a chart where my eyeballs are popping out, noting that 20 to 40% have some success, which means 40 to 80% of day traders going off TA fail. Now that's in the long run, and many people say this.
There's something called the 90-90-90 rule. And that means that 90% of traders lose 90% of their money in the first 90 days. That comes from Wall Street. That comes from OG Wall Street traders back from the 70s and 80s, not from crypto traders. That comes from Wall Street traders.
Yeah, and well, the other thing I say with some of these TAs, so is give an example of in the sauna, that lady's saying, well, no, she's got all these customers at Picasso advisors. Now, you can see in small markets, if let's say we've got a network of advisors who are in these centralized bodies, and let's say there's 10 of us, 10 advisors working in a cartel, but no one knows we're working together, and each of us has 1,000 customers, and 1,000 of us do our so-called TA, and we advise our 1,000 customers. Well, suddenly you've got 10,000 traders following the lead of what these so-called advisors and analysts told us to do. And that can affect the market. That in turn can affect the market when you've got a small market cap. And if you look at crypto as a whole, it's a pretty small market cap. But once you start breaking up per coin, you can really affect markets. Now, we talk about whales. Now, whales can work in two ways. One, they can just be doing their thing, just buying, and they're so rich that it does actually affect the market. But two, they can do it on purpose. But then you've got this kind of hidden whales where these advisors or central bodies and analysts are saying, hey, everyone, we should do this. And collectively, what you have is 10,000 little fish that are all buying the same thing, which in turn kind of turns it into a whale because they're all behaving in the same way. Now, if they're all dumping or all buying, that can have the same effect. But yeah, going back to the opportunity cost, if I can spend 12 hours even working at McDonald's, getting $15 an hour, I don't even know how much what's minimum wage in Australia? I should know that. But so I'm getting $20 an hour, I pay my tax on that. And then I put some of that into, just as you said, dollar cost averaging, knowing that I'm going to hold for the long run. It could probably be a better return on investment. I just need to clear up. I mentioned in a episode a couple ago, I said that ADA, Charles Hoskinson, said that Bitcoin, Cardano was going to be worth more than Bitcoin. And I just want to clarify, he was talking about the market cap as opposed to the actual Cardano per coin comparative to Bitcoin per coin. And that's still a long shot. It's still a big call, but it's more reasonable that the Cardano market cap as a total could be competitive. It's still a big call, but it's more reasonable that it could be competitive with Bitcoin as opposed to coin per coin. Just the supply would throw that out.
Charles, I love you, mate. I think you're a real asset to the crypto community. You're an incredibly intelligent and articulate man, but it's a big call.
Big call. But we love our Cardano, and Charles, if you can make it happen, I've got tens and tens of thousands of Cardano. So hey, Charles, if you can make
it's easy when it's 5 cents a pop.
Yeah, what is it at the moment? It's quite low at the moment, but yeah, there's a lot of people talking about it going to 30, 40 cents, which is quite easy. We've seen that before, but some people have said going to $40 per Cardano. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Currently sitting at 8 cents US.
Yeah, I can't see that happening.
Yeah. Hey, again, if it only makes it halfway, I'm still happy. I love my Cardano.
All right, man. Let's move on to some comments. Me and you are going to talk. We're going to respond to a comment on our YouTube channels. I think that's a great segment. Let's do this before we wrap it up. I've got the comments open on my channel. I've got one. Most of my comments aren't questions. They're more so just comments on the content, which is awesome. I really appreciate everyone, by the way, that takes the time to write something in the comments. Like, you're expending time and energy out of your day to say that, and I really, really appreciate that. And I read them. I do read all the comments, so thank you, guys. But I have one here from Peter Alexander. Hi, Bo. Is Australia Cash Oz crypto any good? It is on CoinGecko.com. Look up on Oz, and they do have a mining pool. Thanks for the video. Peter, I have to apologise. I don't know about Australia Cash. I've never heard of it. The fact that I've never heard of it maybe is a sign for you as to what I think of it. And that's not to say it's not a solid project. It could be a really solid project. But just do your due diligence, man. Look for as much information as you can. Try and get as much opinions on something, no matter what it is, even if it's a really popular coin. And generally, if you're following people that have integrity, you're going to get a pretty good indication on how valuable something is or what it's all about. Adam, over to you.
Again, it's probably supporting your comments there. Thank you so much to everyone who does leave comments and thumbs up. Certainly with my massive subscriber base at the moment, if you leave a comment, I guarantee I will get back to you. Perhaps in the future, I won't be able to make that promise, but certainly at the moment, thank you to John D and Jazz S and Moon Boy for all your comments. I really do appreciate it. As well as Nicholas B. You've been with me from day one. I've got no real questions at this stage from my people, just really all positive comments. Just on the paper wallets that we spoke about, I'm glad some of our subscribers got a lot out of talking about the storage, cold storage, paper wallets, and nano wallets, and Ledger and Trezor wallets. It's really important that we discuss this. I think from my experience, some people are kind of a bit too embarrassed. If they've been in the space for a while, they're like, how does hot and cold storage work again? I can guarantee you I'll be the first to ask any, if you will, stupid question. I've got no shame of doing that. So if you've got anything that you want asked, explored, and you think it's a bit of a silly question, don't be shy, guys. We are leading, as in all of us, crypto community, we are leading the charge in this crypto space. So if you're unsure, and we don't know either, we'll explore it together. Bo, let's get on to our coin picks. Looking at last week, I'll allow you to go first this time.
So last week, my pick was Bitcoin again, and we've hit 8.77% over the week. The reason why I keep going Bitcoin is because it is, in my opinion, the lowest risk. You may not receive the highest return, but you're really putting your money behind the bulwark of what cryptocurrencies are. Bitcoin is what cryptocurrencies are. And I also see Bitcoin as such a scarce resource that when I personally buy it, it's like I've just bought a Fabergé egg. You know what I mean? This is a precious resource, and I don't know within the next hour if it's going to pump or if it's going to drop, and I don't really care, which is generally the reason why Bitcoin is my choice. Now, moving on to my pick of the week, I'm probably going to toss up between Binance Coin and... I was looking at Neo, but Neo's had some price action lately. I'm going to go with Binance, and the reason I'm going to go with Binance is because the more you look into the ecosystem Binance is building around it, the more value they are creating around the utility of their token. In addition to the more profitable Binance becomes, the more of their own token they buy back every quarter. So, I mean, you've got, in terms of token economics, these guys are they're killing it. They're killing it, and they're continuing to grow, and they're becoming more profitable every day. So you may not see a short-term pump. You may see a short-term pump, but I think Binance Coin should be in just about everyone's portfolio at this point.
Well, certainly over the last 30 days after that hack, Binance took a kick in the guts, but man, did it come back big and strong. And I think that's a pretty safe pick. Got onto my pick. I looked at, over the last week, I picked Monero as a privacy coin. You've beat me this week, Bo. Well done. About time you beat me. I've had still a 3.9% Nine's about 4% rise over the last week, which is not too bad, pretty good over the markets. But we can see Litecoin was the real mover. Look, for my pick for the future week, I was actually going to say Binance Coin as well, but I've still got some moral issues with Binance Coin. And then my second pick was going to be Bitcoin Cash, but I've got moral issues with that one as well. There is only one Bitcoin, but there's actually a little video out there recently where a lady went through a drive-through and used Bitcoin Cash, and the video was quite good. She went through a drive-through, she paid with Bitcoin, and she tried to make it out. I was like, no, this is Bitcoin Cash. I'm not paying with Bitcoin. I'm paying with Bitcoin Cash. And to the crypto community, we're like, that's a bit cringy. But my pick for the next week, I think, would be, I've been talking about it too much. I got to Cardano. Charles, I'm backing you up. I pick Cardano for the next week.
Well, there you have it, guys. Look, I think tonight, excuse me, has been my favorite episode so far, Adam. I feel like our chemistry and the tone of your voice in tonight's episode with your upgraded equipment.
Check out my new mic. Yeah.
It's warm. It's deep. I know you got...
There's so much passion involved in here. I love it when you say deep.
I nearly buried myself into that one big time. Big time. I tell you what, though, I need to get myself one of those pop filters because you've got one. People have said, dude, you're popping too much.
Yeah, they're cheap as well. They're like $10 or something.
Where did you get it from?
I've got an audio shop here, but you can just get it. I think JB Hi-Fi have even got them, and they make you look really fancy and professional. And to tell you the truth, I didn't even know what they were really for, but I just saw everyone else had them.
It's to stop the pops.
Yeah.
I'm popping, you're not popping.
And I've got braces, so I apologize to everyone when I edit this in audio and you hear this. Yeah, I
didn't know that.
Yeah, I got them after the legs. No, the top ones are underneath, and that cost twice as much. So thank you, crypto. And the bottom ones are actually on the outside. But I'm 9 months into a 2-year journey, and I got them tightened just yesterday. And man, it's so much pain. Hey, here you go. Here's a bit of random advice. If anyone wants to lose weight, if you want to lose weight, seriously, get braces, and I promise you will lose weight. Because when I first got these things, I could not eat for a week, and I lost, and I'm not even a fat dude, I lost 6 kilos in like less than 2 weeks. Just fell off me. Yeah, so there you go.
You're shredded. So where did that weight come from?
Oh, mate, you should see my abs. It's just like a washboard.
No thanks. All right, guys. I think that wraps it up for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you did, please give us a like. It helps YouTube recommend our content to more people. Go and give Adam a follow. He's got an awesome channel. He's punching out some really, really good content. All his equipment's upgraded. I mean, I think Adam is really poised to be one of the next major up-and-coming channels in this space. A voice of reason, a rare voice of reason. Definitely go and follow him. Make sure to subscribe to us both if you're new to these channels. And just a thank you from me to you for watching. Adam, final comments.
Bo, it's just such an honor working with you. To my subscribers, support Bo. To everyone, check out his course. There is a wealth of knowledge in there. It is a gold mine, and for a very small investment, you are going to get a massive return. Thanks for listening. Happy investing. We'll talk to you next time.
See you guys.